Good evening, everybody, and welcome here as we're getting set for the 13th and final race of the first half of the regular season for the Oreo Cup Series here tonight from the South Boston International Raceway. 20 minutes are on the clock here, and we're ready to find out who is going to be the six drivers that will race their way into tonight's race here at South Boston. First driver up is Morgan Henderson in the number 67 Sunoco Toyota Red Dragon Racing. A couple of drivers will be starting their first time laps already behind the start finish line. First time lap for Morgan Henderson at 15.658. We already got times on the board. Desiree Voiles put in 18.680. Those times will definitely be beaten. Kelsey Higdon, driver of the 26th this week. Kelsey Higdon driving for Rev Racing in the number 26 machine. She'll be making her first attempt. Tatum Wright for the Pinnacle Racing Group. This is an ARCA team trying to make the show this week in the number 28 machine. Eliana Woodson there. There's GOGH Racing. There's Desiree Voiles. Scarlett Wallace back in the 33 this week. Crystal Fontaine, driving right next to Morgan Le Fay, the ARCA Menard Series champ. Addison Peterson in the 75 this week. Gene Evans in the 59. Leo Hill. Liliana Beta this week. Hopefully she'll make the show after she originally made the show but had her time disallowed. Ponzo Albanus in the 84 this week. Regina Walsh back in the 55 with Remy Crampton just in front of her. There's Isaac Willis, Donovan Dixon, Eric Monaco. Ashton Wright making her first attempt in the 29. Of course, as I'm recording this Go Home session, she recently turned 18 a few days ago, so we want to wish her a happy belated birthday. Driving for Kevin Harvick Incorporated, trying to get that car into the show. GOGH Racing. Ari Springer back in the 49 this week. Betty Johnson in the 50 car. We'll have Annie Thomas in that car for All-Star Race Weekend and the Coke 600. Betty Johnson will just run the 150 for All-Star Race Weekend. Scarlett Wallace in the number 98. For CR7 Motorsports, that's a truck series team trying to make this week's show. There's Eliana Woodson, Scarlett Wallace, and basically we've already met everybody, so there you go. Last opportunity for drivers to get themselves into the All-Star race. As Kelsey Higdon, currently the fastest driver on track, turned a 14.928. Tatum Wright, 14.988. Look at all the times closer to one another. That transfer spot is changing. by the minute. Right now, Isaac Willis in the final transfer spot, 7/1000s faster than Scarlett Wallace. That's how competitive these times are. If anybody's asking what I'm eating, I'm having a croissant and Coke Zero. I just got home from work, and as I'm recording this GOGH home session, we're currently at an Airbnb because, well, they found more bed bugs in my group home. That's why I'm here at Airbnb in Oklahoma City. Kelsey Higdon would like to make the show in her debut. Donovan Dixon of 14.962, now second quickest. Desiree Voiles now on the bubble. There's Morgan Le Fay for Young's Motorsports. That's a Truck Series team.
If Steven and Andre get back, will you call me? They haven't came back yet, right?
I was talking to my staff there. Leo Hill, 14.929. Let me take a quick commercial break and we'll be back. Welcome back. You didn't miss much. I had to talk to my staff for just a second. As I was talking about, Morgan Le Fay driving for Young's Motorsports. There's Ari Springer, 25th quickest. 15.183 is her fastest lap. Eric Monaco, 15.043. Cheyenne Berkshire currently on the outside looking in. There's Leo Hill, the fastest at a 14.919, 9/1000s quicker than the 26. That would be Kelsey Higdon. And do some looking in just a second. Kelsey Higdon would make the show, would make her debut, looking at the stuff here. Leo Hill would make his 7th start of the year. Donovan Dixon would make his 4th, as things stand. Remy Crampton would make her 5th start of the year, and then everybody else their first. That was a 32 that just came back on track. That's Jillian Black for Brett Holmes Racing. That's another Truck Series team. Right now, a 15.160 25th quick, as right now she would not make the show as things stand. There's Ashton Wright. Ashton will be in this car for the rest of the season in the 29. There's Ari Springer, 27th quickest. Scarlett Walls, 33rd. Regina Walsh, that's the name I was trying to think of. Right now, she would be one of the 6 drivers that would be locked into the show. Remember, the top 6 from this Go or Go Homer will transfer into tonight's feature event, which will take place at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here at South Boston. And for those that fail to qualify for this race, they will try again at Charlotte, but that will be after All-Star Race weekend, which we have to do the Oreo Open to find out who will be the drivers to transfer into the All-Star Race. And then we will have our 2025 edition of the Oreo Cup Series All-Star Race from Charlotte Motor Speedway, which all of the Go or Go Homers will be showing up. It will also determine who would be the drivers that would transfer into the All-Star Race. It would also determine, and everybody would have the same playing field, and no matter who's on the entry list for the All-Star Open, they will also be they will be the same drivers that will attempt the Coke 600 in 2 weeks. Funny thing is, I have a Coca-Cola bottle in my hands in the booth. I got that from concessions down there before I came up to the booth here at South Boston. There's Leo Hill, Sam Tenley right there, Donovan Dixon, the 66, the MBM Ford Mustang Dark Horse. We will see Eric Monaco in the All-Star race next week at Charlotte. So we get 2 weeks at Charlotte, which first we will determine the drivers that will make it into the All-Star race. We may end up having Go or Go Home qualifying first, then the All-Star Open. When I say Go or Go Home qualifying, I'm referring to who would be in the show for the next points event, which is Charlotte the Coke 600. And the part of the season I like to call the chase to the chase for the Oreo Cup Series Championship. And how Leo Hill is doing without sponsorship is incredible. And after this race, not only are we halfway through the regular season, which we would also complete the first half of the regular season, but when we get to Charlotte for the Coke 600, we begin what I call, like I said, the chase to the chase, which means we will have 13 races left to go until we determine the 16 drivers that will battle out for the season's chase for the championship. Of course, Carolina Bradley, who is in the 26th position, your most recent winner, which we've had 11 different winners in the first 12 races of this season. Going to be interesting to see what happens coming up later this evening when we get ready to go racing. Of course, we just had our Red Bull GT series. And Leo Hill's going to come in the pits. He so far ran 20 or 50 laps in this session. Tatum right in the final transfer spot. Got Scarlett Wallace and Betty Johnson next to her. Scarlett Wallace just in front of her. Going to be interesting to see what happens in the South Boston race coming up tonight. Of course, I brought my dinner up here in the booth because why not? There's Carolina Bradley, last week's winner. She will be in the All-Star race coming up next week at Charlotte. Then Deanna Rant is going to be in that car for the Coke 600, which we're looking forward to the Coke 600. Be a 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. One of our longest races of the year, and like I said, the start of the second half of the regular season, I called the Chase to the Chase. Oh, Leo Hill's up in smoke. That's what we call it detonate. Ooh, careful. Yeah, that car blew up. They're going to have to clean all that oil. Make sure there's no oil coming out of that 78 car. Which that's a mechanical from. And they'll have time to change that engine. If it is a engine problem, they'll have time to change that engine. They can just put a fresh engine in that car because, like I said, they're not going to beat a 14.919 unless someone puts up a very good lap between now and then. And we have a tie for the transfer spot, which I didn't see that right there. The 28 and the 13. But here's the kicker, though. The 13 would get in because of owner points. The 28, it's their first attempt. They have no owner points, whereas the 13 has owner points, which would mean Remy Crampton would get the final transfer spot, and Tatum Wright would end up being the driver who would unfortunately go home, which is a tough break for her. Wow, wow, wow. And the clocks have hit 0, so that's it for Practice. Yep, they're not scoring anything on Tatum. Wowee. You are not expecting that, if you know what I mean. So, Leo Hill, Kelsey Higdon, Scarlett Wallace, Donovan Dixon, Regina Walsh will make her debut. And because we have a tie between the 28 and the 13, Remy Crampton will take the final transfer spot because the tiebreaker goes to owner points because Remy Crampton is higher than the 28 in points, and the 28's only making their first attempt. Remy Crampton will make the show, and Tatum Wright, unfortunately, will go home. Drivers that will be joining Tatum Wright in the going home list this week are Liliana Beta, Sam Tenley, Isaac Willis, Cheyenne Berkshire, Eric Desiree Voiles, Eric Monaco for the second week in a row, Addison Peterson, Geisha Racing, Ari Springer, Betty Johnson, Crystal Fontaine, Ashlyn Wright, I'm sorry. Eliana Woodson, Carolina Bradley. We'll see her for the All Star race next week. Morgan Le Fay, Ponzo Albanese, Scarlett Wallace, Kaylee Rankin, Jean Evans, Jillian Black, Morgan Henderson, and Jessica Shelton. Those drivers will not be in the main event later tonight. So that is it for Go or Go Home qualifying. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the PCS and WRA crew today. We'll see you back here tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the main event, as our race weekend at South Boston continues on the PCS Sports and Gaming channel, celebrating 15 years as the best set of racing since 2017.